the Azir, because he just can't control the amount that AD carries are able to push the lane against him. So I'm expecting to see Captain Jack not only get great CS here with the Ren stacks, he's continuing to get resets off of killing monsters, and even though he won't get the extra synergy from being able to get extra damage when he and his support player, hit the same target, he's deliberately taking a very bad trade here to stack up a lot of those auto attacks. Of course, he's not sticking spears in anyone quite yet. He's still at level 1. But he is actually getting a lot of CS here. I think he's only down 1 CS, but more importantly, he's got a lot of CS over Duke at this point. Level 2s for both players, so it won't necessarily be completely impactful, but there's already 1 CS lost to turret, 2 CS, 3, and of course, actually did not miss those last 2. So good job last inning here for Duke, but at the same time, he is going to be in a little bit of a difficult situation here, as AD carry is traditionally able to build lifesteal from a bunch of Doran's blades or a Vamp Scepter if you can get that luxury item. And it feels weird to call it a luxury item, but at this point in time, wait a second, I'm guessing that is a disconnect or something along those lines. So Captain Jack has a lot of sustain as far as his items are concerned. He actually just has to put that out here. And Duke playing a much different style of Azir than we saw yesterday. This one is actually very harass based, so maybe neglecting some of the wave management that you would expect to see in a 1v1 situation, but at least for the time being, he's putting enough pressure on Captain Jack so that he's not able to auto-attack the wave quite as freely and continue to push that in onto him. Also, for whatever reason, Duke's Azir has way more mana, or at least it feels like that, than the Azir that we saw yesterday, so he's able to continue to cast a lot of these Sand Soldiers, and it still has a mana potion in his inventory. Starting with Flask is a great way to do that, so already using all of his Flask charges, and once again still with a mana potion in his inventory, you will be able to have a little bit of a better early game here than we've seen from Azirs in the past. And for Captain Jack, still looking to see how his ultiless Callista does here versus Duke's Azir. Duke actually the one out pushing him back towards the turret, and while yes, Captain Jack does have a ton of sustain, we'll see if the area of effects, auto attacks here from Duke's Azir are are good enough. Captain Jack, he's now pushing the wave back. He's been able to use a lot of his sustain to get back up in there, but oh, look at what he did. He stacked up those Ren stacks on a minion, and then used Pierce to get them all the way onto Azir. Transferred a bunch of stacks over to him. Actually wound up dealing a lot of damage. Now, he does have to play this very carefully. He's sitting at 200 HP, but he knows if he is able to stack up a bunch of spears on just one minion, you're going to be able to transfer those over, and it's not going to be a good situation. In fact, he might go for the stop there. He does stop Azir's recall. This actually could be a little bit difficult to deal with. Of course, both players going with a teleport build, so it'll be teleport barrier for Captain Jack, teleport with a flash here for Duke's Azir. I don't actually agree with taking flash in a lot of situations. Theoretically, you should be able to just, get a mobile champion who doesn't necessarily require flash, like Lucian, like a Graves, Caitlyn, something along those lines, and then just have to, get a more combat-related summoner spell, like an Ignite if you want to go for all-ins, or Summoner Heal if you're going for stuff like that. And you should be able to get away with the slightly greedier Summoner Heal instead of having to go for a barrier, just because, or I guess it's, dependent on what you want to get. If you want that extra move speed, go for a heal, but you're probably not going to be facing off against an Ignite, just because traditionally, players don't go for very many, aggressive plays, unless, of course, it is, dependent on the player that you're playing against. So Captain Jack doing a great job last hitting here. He is now up, over 10 CS. Big deal here when it comes down to win conditions, because you do have to be up ahead of your opponent over 10 CS once you hit that 100 CS mark in order to get that CS victory. And I actually really like that rule, because it means if it's close, it actually becomes really tense up until the end. But Duke falling behind here on CS. He's going to be behind on sustain as well as far as health is concerned. See if he can get this last creep. Nope, it is out of here. And so Captain Jack hitting level 6 here means absolutely nothing. Of course, you can see 0 points in that ultimate. Will not be able to use that, so I would expect to see 0 points put in there. Just splitting his points currently between Pierce and Rend. Not a whole lot of surprise there. It's your primary damage way to deal damage, and of course Sentinel does, I believe that gives CS, but oh my god, one more auto attack! He's actually going to use Emperor's Divide to push Captain Jack back, and that means that, well, he's going to stay alive for a little bit longer, even with health potions running. I think Duke's ear is starting to feel the pain. Already forced to ult and use that flash defensively, whereas Barrier is still available here for Captain Jack, who is just dominating this lane. Wait, what? Oh, he hadn't used Rend yet, and I guess I didn't pay attention to that. I thought that it was actually the Rend damage when he pierced Duke, but it was actually just the pierce damage, and he was just waiting for the range or the time or something along those lines. But in the end, it is a somewhat surprising and equally